Have you ever wondered what happens after you reel those fish in and chuck them into the farms bin? Like, you just caught a living creature, you dragged it out of the water, and then it just boop, goes into a bin and becomes gold, and nobody bats an eye? Look, I'm sure you didn't wonder about this. I certainly didn't, but Glass Gecko Games did. And I kinda wish they hadn't, but I'm also super glad they did, because this thing is addictive. Scale the Depths is made by a small indie team from Canada. They built it out of a 2024 Game Jam entry and watched it pull 210,000 demo players before the full game even launched. Hell, they even had to deal with copycats before the game even came out. That's how much of a killer formula they have here. So here's the deal. You're a tiny robot with a fishing boat docked at the Loch Ness. You have 4 things to interact with: the fishing station, the bait station, the scaling station, and the feeding station. That's the whole game, and somehow it's kind of enough. So you cast your line, go underwater, and for the few seconds it gives you down there, you're threading through rocks and plants and ramming fish with your hook. Hit them enough and they'll fall into your bucket. Bigger fish need more hits, and if your line runs out mid-chase, the water just spits you back up to the surface, empty-handed. In theory, that's a minor inconvenience. I mean, who cares? You just gotta do it again. In practice, it's the most powerful piece of game design I've encountered this year, because you were so close, and so you do it again. Once your bucket fills, you can't keep fishing until you scale them. So into the scaling room you go. Fish on the cutting table, knife in hand, and you do what only a game this cute could make oddly satisfying. You scrape out the parasites and the barnacles and shear off the fins and sever the heads. Look, the first few minutes I genuinely felt bad about this. After all, this is a living creature I pulled out of the ocean, and I just started dismembering it on a cutting board. But a few fish later, I found myself carving without hesitation, with satisfaction even, and then after a while, this comfortable telling monotony settled in, which is exactly what the game wants from you. The scaled fish go to the boat's customers, who are nothing short of extraordinary, by the way. You have seagulls, sea turtles, mermaids, and even Nessie herself. They all have opinions about what you're serving them. Some will devour the eels while others won't touch them. If you remember who wants what, they will fling you an extra tip on the way out. On the way back to the fishing station, you will pass the shop, where you pick one thing to improve: the rod to go deeper, the hook to hit harder, the knife to carve faster, or the bucket to store more fish. And just like that, an addictive game loop is born. Here's what that actually feels like. You lock onto a big fish, you hit it once, twice, it's blinking red, you're one hit away, and the line yanks you back up to the surface. But you were right there, so you dive again, you get it, but wait, what's that lever? You hit it, and a passage opens up deeper still, so you push in and the line drags you back up. You surface, completely frustrated, but hungry enough to go back down there. And then the game just pivots on you from this tight, frantic, locked-in chase to the slow, quiet ritual of the scaling room. Drawing a knife across scales, picking out each parasite with the patience that particular fish needs. Your heart rate completely drops. You breathe, then the next fish, then the shop, then back underwater. I sound like Lady Gaga.
Bus, club, another club, another club.
The way those two modes play off each other is chemical. Glass Gecko Games calibrated it in a way that genuinely feels almost unfair. Now, here's where I have to be honest with you, because everything I just described is excellent, but I have to be fair with something that the game does that is a little bit frustrating. When you clear an area and move on to the next, you go from Loch Ness to Mexico, to a swamp, to Point Nemo, the game takes every upgrade you worked for. So your better rod, your sharper hook, and your faster knife, all gone, because the fish here are more tough or whatever. And look, I get the logic, but the feeling of clawing back to zero stings every single time, and it never stops stinging. Do not take my upgrades, I earned them. And on top of that, the game just never really evolves. New areas give you different parasites, new barnacles, algae you have to scrub off with a sponge. You also get new fish with new looks. The sauce is absolutely still there, but there is no new mechanic that changes how you play, and you also don't have a story pulling you forward. In the end, nothing makes the 5th hour of gameplay feel different from the first. What you're doing at Point Nemo is exactly what you were doing at Loch Ness. It's just a different coat of paint for the same walls. Point Nemo does sneak in one genuinely delightful Easter egg, I'd say. The creatures here look pulled straight out of Finding Nemo, because why does this guy look just like Nemo? And why does this guy look just like Gil? And more importantly, why do they look so miserable? None of the fish have looked this sad, ever. You're suddenly making me feel bad. But yeah, I will not pretend I didn't cackle and then immediately feel terrible about it. Here's where I land on this. Scale the Devs knows exactly one trick, and he performs it with so much confidence and charm, and just tactile satisfaction that you'll be hours in before you even notice the ceiling. The loop is impeccably built, the customers are a delight, and the world is stranger and more inviting than any fishing game has any right to be. What it can't do, however, is grow beyond itself, and taking your progress away at every new area makes the repetition sting more than it should. It's a genuinely wonderful foundation that stops just short of being a genuinely wonderful game. This is a 9 out of 10 for me, and you can find the full written review at bonus-action.com. Let me know in the comments if you're picking this one up, and I'll see you in the next one.